Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining this piece of SUNY Oswego's Imagine 2021 program. This interview is a part of the Week 2 programming surrounding the theme of Imagine Being Your Best. My name is Todd Cole, and I'm a current senior graduating in 2021 with a degree in marketing. I've in the past at this school have worked as the PR coordinator for the RHA Association, the chief of staff intern for the president's office, and as a building manager for campus life. Today, I'm fortunate enough to be joined by SUNY Oswego alumni Edwin Gonzalez, class of 2012. Thank you so much for joining us today, Edwin. And to jump right in, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, including your current position and the company that you work for right now?
Thanks so much. Really honored to be here. Really pleasure to meet you. Right now, currently, I am the senior HR generalist and payroll supervisor for Tweezerman International. We are an international beauty tool company, but we also do things such as nail care, face care, men and women. And currently, right now, what I'm responsible for is everything from safety, recruitment, onboarding of new employees, employee engagement, performance reviews, and that's pretty much the majority of my time there. I've been there about 3.5 years.
That's incredible. Wow. Thank you so much for your continued work throughout that organization. And it's really incredible that it's for men and women. I think I might have to try it out myself. So, to jump right into things, what type of positions do you hire for and across what industries?
Sure. So we are what we call a consumer products goods. What's relatable to that industry is things like fashion, things like food products, food services. So some of the big names that you might think of are like Heinz or Nike. Those are some of the big companies that you might think of right off the bat. The type of positions I hire for range in a wide variety. There's very specific departmentally. So anything from information technology, finance, customer service, sales, logistics, warehouse members. Let's see, human resources. I hired my new payroll specialist. And then again, we try to look for that background in that fashion or somebody with that manufacturing background. Prior to that, I was in prior to Tweezerman, I was in the staffing agency. So I had exposure to looking at tech companies, science companies, healthcare companies, biotech companies, and recruiting for them. Everything from administrative level to your manager level positions.
That is absolutely outstanding. Thank you again for your continued work. That's incredible. So, from your perspective, what are some of the top skills and abilities that you look for when hiring for your organization?
You know, Todd, this is a tough question. I think it's different for every recruiter. I think
Right.
it's different for every position.
Hmm.
Um, first, first, I'll give what I think is important, and then I'll give some advice. My thing is prioritization. How do you prioritize your tasks? How do you handle it? That can give me a somewhat organic level and idea of how you manage pressure and deadlines. Prioritization is a big one for me. With that comes problem resolution. If you have two tasks, due at the same time, how do you problem solve it? Or again, how do you prioritize it? What help did you ask for? What was your conflict resolution or your root cause analysis? And after that, I think I look for communication, whether it be on your resume or whether it be once you get the interview. I think your communication on paper is your first foot in the door. If your resume is not really aesthetically appealing, if it doesn't catch my eye, I tend to put that to the back of the pile and I'll get back to it later. If it just looks like a lot of words jumping out at me, it's an overload of information to anyone, right?
Right. No, I agree with
Um,
that.
so I think what's also important is that when you're looking for a job, you go and find out what are the necessary skills for that position. I can look for the same things across everybody else, but if I'm recruiting for an IT administrator or an IT specialist, I want to know that they're up to date with maybe some Google ad certificates, or, whether that be in marketing as well, if that's transferable. Are they up to date with Microsoft AX and some of the new softwares that Microsoft is releasing? I think it's definitely more granular and more specific per position. So my suggestion is really just go and find out what is it that your job needs, or what is it that you're looking for and that you need in that position.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think you elaborated on that very well. And a lot of people don't take that into consideration, doing that background research before you go into the job and apply and put yourself out there. And thank you again for mentioning how important it is to keep your resume polished and on point. So when people first see that, they get a good first impression of you and who you are, and things can move forward. That is such an important aspect that so many college students forget. And it's important, just to keep up with everything, keep our resume refreshed. Not too long ago, I had an administrative friend tell me that it's so important that sometimes it can be helpful to have multiple resumes for different jobs you might want to apply for, so you can tailor that resume specifically for that job. So thank you. That is a very important point you made right there.
Todd, that's
Um,
sorry to cut you off.
no, of course, of
I
course.
think that's great advice. I think anybody who hears that advice should not take that for granted. Back tailoring your resume to job specific may be so time consuming, and it's but it's worth it.
Yes,
In the end, you have a better shot. And doing your research, just like you do for the company, in interviews, just like it is a two-way interview. You want to make sure that the company you're applying to fits your values, your goals, and what you're looking for, and just as much as the job does. So I think research on both the job and the company is super important, like you said.
absolutely. Hopefully that the people watching us are able to take something away from that, because that is incredible information. Thank you so much, Edwin. In addition, what are some different things you might look for in a current student or recent graduate's application?
So I think with recruiting, this has changed over time. Over when I first started recruiting, or even when I graduated, more about 9 years ago now. Wow, hitting that decade mark. Um, it used to be the GPA, right? You don't have above a certain level, you don't put it on. I don't think the GPA is as important to me. And again, I think it's different for every recruiter.
Mhm.
Recruiting, in my opinion, is very subjective. It could be, hey, that resume doesn't look good to me. I'm not looking at it, right? For a recent grad, if your GPA is worth putting it on there, that's fine. But I want to know more than just your grades. What did you do? Did you work during the summer? Did you work during school? Did you work during the winter? Did you volunteer anywhere? Were you just, hanging out at home over winter break? Those are kinds of the things I look for. And if you're not able to put your GPA, or whether you are, show me your relevant coursework, but like the stuff that you learn the most on. If you wrote an outstanding thesis paper, mention that. Your accolades, dean's lists are I think are still relevant. Um, Clubs, intramurals, showing me that you're sociable and you have some culture ad. I think that's the term HR wants to use, and I'll share now. Culture ad. We want to know, what are you bringing to our company. Um, I think those are the things I look for in a recent grad. It's not always about the grade, and again, just your organizational skills on paper. I think that's super important right out the gate. Like I think that's going to be the pretty common theme throughout this whole thing.
Absolutely. And I think that was very well said. It's so important for people that are applying to important positions to realize that it's important to diversify your application as much as possible, make yourself stand out. And if you can't, like you said, include your GPA, just add the qualities, talents, and things you've done at your school that make you stand out. So that's a very well point. And thank you so much, Edwin. To wrap things up, what final tips and recommendations do you have to share with our students and recent grads on how they can create standout application materials?
Uh, don't use too much filler information. What I
Mhm.
mean by that, on your resume, is you don't need your full address. You don't need to know that you live on 123 ABC Street in New York 11040.
Right.
You don't need all that. New York is just fine. With that being said, when you get into your resume, what impact did you have at your job? For instance, I'll use you an example. You were a building manager, right?
Hmm.
What did you do as a building manager that made some improvements? What processes did you see that changed? Those are the type of impacts that I look for. And at least you try and make it sound somewhat relatable, right?
Absolutely.
Um, the other thing is if you have a job or an internship, I want to know that the things you did and you learned are applicable to your major and the job you're applying to. If you're in an accounting major and you had a finance at JP Morgan Stanley internship, you're not applying to my IT job.
Hmm.
It's not really relatable, right? And if so, let's figure out where that cover letter can come into play. That cover
Absolutely.
le- that cover letter shouldn't be a template. It shouldn't be, "Hi, my name is Edwin. This is what I've done. I want to apply to ABC company." Again, just like you do your research for the job posting, make that cover letter tailored to that job posting. I see that you need these qualifications and these skill specific things. This is how I have that, and this is where I've used it. Um, the other thing I can recommend for anyone making a standout application is just try and be as well rounded as possible. Um, One of the new statistics in human resources is that the younger generations are leaving jobs more and more because they're finding better opportunities or new opportunities or whatever the case may be. I got to tell you that that's all really dependent on the job. Was it a startup company? Was it a temp opportunity? Try and stick it out for more than a year. That's probably an old school advice, but I think still holds some weight.
Of course. Yeah.
And then my last piece of advice is just do as much research as possible. Learn what skills you can. Never stop learning. Never stop improving. Um, I'm not deterring anyone from going for their master's degree because I want to go back. I just applied to St. John's.
Oh,
Um,
congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. Hope best. Fingers crossed there. It is closer to home down here on Long Island, but without going for my master's, I got my SHRM certification. I took some American Management Association classes. Never stop learning. That'll help you round your resume out and your application out. It shows continuous improvement. Um, and for interview jitters, I think that's super important.
Mhm.
Um, Practice makes perfect. Take the mock interviews at career services. Mock interview your friends. There's mock interview questions you can practice and record yourself, because the last thing you want to do is getting drilled on an interview and shaking and sweating and not knowing how to answer. So practice makes perfect. And remember that interview is just as much for you as it is for the company you're interviewing for. I think that's really important to remember.
Big time. Big time. And thank you, Edwin. So many students don't realize that just because you're not applying for a job at a certain period of time doesn't mean that you can't continuously improve, your qualities, your skills, just to make yourself the best possible version of yourself that you can be. And Edwin, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your time and knowledge with our Laker family. And thanks to everybody who watched. We hope you continue to keep an eye out for more Imagine 2021 programming to come. Take care, everyone, and thank you for joining.